I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's hump day. Something's missing. I am missing something to power me on through the weekend, to the weekend. Well, I know what's missing. Don't you worry. Your Compas got you. Compas on the beat drops today. Let's freaking go. Not only did we just have a great Combat Compas episode this week featuring Andy Ruiz and your beloved Compas, we are keeping it rolling, having another great guest, which is the Texans beat reporter from the Houston Chronicle, Jonathan Alexander. He broke down the AFC South and gave the Compas good insight on the new team he is covering. So strap your seatbelts in and get ready for another great episode. And by the way, don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. You know your boys are everywhere, just like Roy Keane. He's here. He's there. He's every... it's a children's program. I wasn't going to curse. Don't worry. Don't worry. Humberto! No bleep button necessary, my boy. But all right. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. You already know, on the Twitter, Compas at Compas OTB. The OTB is capital. What? On the TikToks at Compas on the beat. What? On Instagram at Compas on the beat. What? You already know. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to both Compas on the Beat and Combat Compas if you haven't done so already. Be a friend, tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? All right. Now, no more dilly-dally. It's time to get to the best damn podcast in the universe. All the way from across the hallway. Play the music, Nando! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Compas on the Beat. I am Fernando Ramirez, and with me, as always, my co-host, my tag team partner, Gilbert Manzano, OG Register, LA Daily News. What's up, bro?
What was that, Fernando? Is that your auction voice? Or you're like, oh, well, over here, 120, 500 sold. Is that your voice there for auction?
Not bad at that.
See? Yeah, I think that's what you were going with, right? Or what
was
that about?
Just
you just
trying
felt
something
different today?
Just trying something new.
Okay. I didn't hate it. It was quicker, got to the point. So, you know me, I like to be efficient.
There you go. And you know, you like your time and you hate your deadline. So there you go. That's all you need to know about Gilbert. Deadlines are, you better get out of his way and you better have quotes ready. Danny Marquino, you better have quotes ready.
Yes, but I don't have to worry about that anymore. Yes, as we know.
Gilbert, so a little, just real quick update. How are you doing with Rams beat? I mean, we're on week 3 of preseason. How's everything going?
Yeah, no, it's been an adjustment driving to Thousand Oaks. So other than that, listen to some podcasts, listen to music. It's fine. I'm enjoying my time. Covering the Rams. I think I saw Jason Garrett out there.
Oh, wow.
Clap if you're right.
Coach Clap.
I think I saw him out there, but it could be just another white guy with red hair. So I'm not too sure, but it looked like Jason Garrett to me. So that was cool to see him out there and being the coach or observing. I don't know what he's doing, actually. I think he might be a TV guy now, but
he's now with NBC. He's going to be doing the Notre Dame games.
Okay.
On NBC. That's Gilbert's subtle way of saying he misses me being there, because I'd always be the one that would know exactly who was out there. So I think that's Gilbert's way of kind of saying he misses my eagle eyes.
There's always people on the sidelines, and I'm like, I'm not too sure who that is, but I always see Andrew Whitworth out there. I know who he is. I saw Peter King the other day there, so that was cool. But yeah, just people all around the sidelines at Thousand Oaks to watch the defending Super Bowl champion. But I'm doing well. How about you, Fernando?
I'm good. Coming off a good weekend where we're obviously do we call him Dan and Daygo, or do we call him Coach Dan? He was Coach Dan over the weekend.
Apparently, he has multiple Twitters because different personalities. I just noticed that. So, Coach Dan Ramirez, you want to call him for this? AKA Dan and Daygo, AKA your brother?
Yeah, no, exactly. So his Coronado Islanders, he's the offensive line coach for there. They ended up winning over the weekend 13-6. Just a quick little video of Dan and the way he kind of coaches. Here he goes. Let me lower the volume just real quick. Look at, there's your guy, Gilbert.
Wow, look at that. The passion. He cares. He wants to see his players on the offensive line improve and get better. It's stern, but not too far. Good advice there from Dan and Daygo. And where is your brother? Is he out there coaching still? You know, is he being more serious now? He's not here to torture me. He wants to coach the kids now.
No, he actually still loves torturing you. He thinks that you're slowly trying to kick him out of the show because you're giving him less and less airtime. I told him that that's not the case. It's just our schedules are all weird right now, and
Just
and
a
he
little
doesn't
bit, a
believe
little bit, little of the case.
he doesn't believe it. He says he's going to come back with the force and stunner you. So I'm sure
Well,
that'll.
Fernando, just to plug our other YouTube channel, Combat Compas, we had Andy Ruiz on. He yelled at me on that show, so that's
Oh
why
yeah,
I don't have him on. He's spitting on his microphone, spitting on the screen, and just going off and making fun of my blue shirt.
yeah.
Please watch that on Combat Compas, the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We just got Andy Ruiz Jr., the Destroyer, on that podcast. So and get to see Dan and Dago's reaction. So sorry,
And
Daniel, you can't be on this show, but you were on that one.
And Andy Ruiz really opened up with us, Gilbert. He really talked about everything. And I mean, I even asked him, like, hey, you're a couple of years removed from winning those championships. You've had these layoffs. Like, is that still the goal? Like, is your goal to still, because I mean, sometimes fighters are just in it for the money. And Andy's like, no, he's sincere when he says, I'm in it to try and regain these championships. I want them back on me. So it was a really good interview with Andy. And I think we really got in depth with him about everything going on. And then he had a couple a little subtle shots at Anthony Joshua and which I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, go check that out on Combat Compas. It was a great interview. And again, I know some of you guys like Karen. Karen, obviously, she says she loves the back and forth with Dan and Daygo and Gilbert. So I'm sure a lot of people do. So go check that out. Dan gets a victory lap because he predicted the winner of the UFC 278. So he did his victory lap in style. So it definitely was pretty funny to see you and him kind of go at it about that.
Yeah, it's a fun show. If you love boxing, MMA, and pro wrestling, and you love Dan and Dago going more into his character,
Yeah.
check that out. But Fernando, we're here on this program, Compas on the Beat, to talk some NFL.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and obviously with some of the stuff going on right now, it feels like stuff is really starting to pick up. I know it's obviously preseason game 3, and Gilbert, it doesn't surprise me that I see a lot of tweets going, okay, enough with all these preseason games. Let's cut them down. Let's cut them down. Let's get it down to 2, which eventually, Gilbert, I think it's going to be a 2 preseason game, 18 game schedule. And that's just my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, just get rid of the entire preseason. I really don't care. But I guess I do. Maybe one game or two will be fine because you do like the unproven players to kind of shine. Sorry, I'll take it back. I like that part of it, but I don't want 3. But yes, Fernando, I'm ready to move on from the preseason and let's get to some news, man. I hear a good friend of the show, Derwin James, broke the bank, got some money, and the only problem I have with this is that Derwin did it after we stopped recording, last
Yeah.
Tuesday. So, but we're here. We haven't forgotten, Fernando.
Man, that's what happened with us. Remember during free agency, like we would record Compas, and then the Chargers trade for Khalil Mack, and then all this stuff would happen once we were done recording. So yeah, Derwin James signs a new extension with the Chargers. I know a lot of fans got nervous because I think it got till day 14, I think, with Derwin. But Gilbert, what did your boy tell you? What did I tell you? Before the joint practice, he will sign that extension. He signs it. Ian Rappaport, good friend of the program as well. Derwin James signed a 4-year extension. He had been holding in, signs a 4-year extension for $76 million dollars in money. He obviously gets $29 million in this first year, which is pretty considerable. And now, man, his agent David Molingetta has all the top corners and safeties signed up, so that's pretty good to see that his list just keeps on growing. But Gilbert, this was needed. You needed to get this done. Derwin James is your Justin Herbert or your defense. He's your quarterback. He's your best player. They needed to get this done.
Yeah, I mean, but I won't let you pat yourself on the back, Fernando, because I got you to worry and panic about the Derwin contract. You're like, yeah, okay, fine, I'm worrying. And then 2 hours later, you're like, dang, it was before the scrimmage. You were right, but you got concerned, Fernando. So don't take the full credit. But that was your deadline, and you got a little early. But to give you my 2 cents here on Derwin, well deserved. One of the best players, not just at his position, but on defense or even in the NFL, because he's got plays 5 positions, calls the defense heart and soul. And he deserves definitely to reset the market at safety and become the highest paid safety in NFL history. But yeah, he took out Jalen Ramsey to dinner because he has money now. And the one thing that surprised me was, I thought Derwin was going to get a little more, command, maybe 5-year, $100 million. But it was close to Jalen Ramsey's contract, his good friend there, but it wasn't at that level, but it got close. But I can see Derwin James saying, hey, it's been 2 weeks. I got to get to training camp. I got to practice with my boys, JC Jackson, Khalil Mack. They're new. But, that guy, he likes to play football, so I don't think he was too worried about the extra money. But
is there a bigger bromance in the NFL than Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James?
It's funny because they're very different people, and they're opposite,
completely different.
But they're also great players, and they do the same thing on the field. So it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Gilbert, obviously the Rams played over the weekend. They played last Friday. We got news that Logan Bruss was out for the season. Just how much of a loss is that for the Rams?
Yeah, it does hurt. He was going to be counted on to at least be the first guard available or be on the field for max protections. But he didn't win the job. It was Coleman Shelton. But he was the first pick of the draft for them in the 3rd round, Logan Bruss. So there was upside. They weren't going to push him too far to start. So they in a sense had a backup plan just in case for this. But it's just a brutal hit for the rookie to miss his first season in the NFL. And I didn't really notice it. I saw him kind of walking off under his own power, and it felt like he was fine. But then he came back with a brace on his right knee, and then Sean McVay said it doesn't look good. And when people say that, I know they're all guessing, is usually not good. So hold for him. He gets better, recovers. But it's a tough loss for the Rams to lose a rookie right guard.
100%. Gilbert, before we move on, I forgot to show this to you. It is Derwin James had high praise. Ryan Clark was kind of talking about Hunter Renfrow, Raiders receiver Hunter Renfrow, and Derwin James did not stand for any slander on the Raiders receiver. Check this out real quick between them.
Some of those people you put on a level with King.
I say Tyreek Hill, and then like you say, guys like Waller, guys like Renfrow that can, that can change the game if you don't game plan them right. They can hurt you. So,
did you just start a conversation with Tyreek Hill and go to Hunter Renfrow?
Yeah, it's different.
Hunter Renfrow, the encyclopedia salesman.
Yeah, no, there ain't no encyclopedia salesman.
Hunter really liked that.
Turn the film on. You watch film, don't you?
Some of those people you put on a level with Keenan.
I say Tyreek Hill.
Well, we'll have to watch it again, Fernando.
That was my bad. Did you see Derwin's face?
Yeah, like he knew what he was trying to do. Like, you calling him a salesman? Nah, I'm not falling for that. You watch the film, bro. You're on TV. You should watch the film. So I love that by Derwin James. And I get maybe the reaction from Tyreek to Hunter Renfrow. Maybe there's a little gap there, but Hunter Renfrow is a baller, and he belongs to be talked about as one of the top wide receivers. So I love Derwin James putting him in place. He's like Luke Rockhold, saying, do your research, do your homework, watch the film. Fernando, I'll let you have the rest of the 30 seconds. By the way, the ticker's back. I love the ticker because sometimes, Fernando, you get too crazy.
Me. You went on a rant yesterday on Compas on the beat for like 3 minutes. Or Combat Compas. But it was good information. That was just obviously Derwin is going to put other receivers in there. But Hunter Renfrow, we remember last year, we saw the highlight of the way he put Michael Davis on skates numerous times. So I mean, we've all seen it. Hunter Renfrow's a baller. Now it's him and Devontae Adams. It's going to be even tougher to cover them. But I just like that Derwin is just so intense. When he talks ball, he's like a WWE persona. He gets intense and he's like, okay,
nah, that ain't no encyclopedia salesman. Nah, I was like, dang.
Gilbert, not only are there changes on the field, JC Jackson, Khalil Mack, obviously the Rams picked up Bobby Wagner. There's also changes in the broadcast booth. With some of the moves that were made this offseason, ESPN acquiring Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, signing them to a 5-year deal. So they will now be calling Monday Night Football. You got obviously Fox had to replace Buck and Aikman. They get Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson to be their number twos. Obviously, we're all waiting for Tom Brady when he eventually takes over in the broadcast booth as the number one. Who knows who they'll put besides him? And obviously that was a 10-year, $375 million deal. God almighty. NBC now has Mike Tirico and they had Mike Tirico with Al Michaels leaving, and they still have Chris Collinsworth. Then Amazon Prime has joined the NFL, and I think this is only the beginning of streaming services. I'm sure Apple will be next. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit will be doing the announcing. Kirk Herbstreit obviously has been on ESPN College Game Day. He's called college games for years, and he will still be doing it actually. So that guy's gonna be away from football. And actually, Amazon Prime was ready to offer Sean McVay a 5-year, $100 million contract, but obviously he turned it down, according to Forbes. And CBS will still have Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. So Gilbert, I ask you the difficult question: which team would you rather? How would you rank these teams? Who's your favorite?
I'm kind of disappointed with the Amazon Prime. This is a new channel, a new TV broadcast, and they just have Al Michaels and Herbstreit, who was from college football. I heard these guys before. I want something different, and yeah, Sean McVay would have been nice. By the way, Amazon Prime was doing their own preseason at the Rams Texans game Friday. They were doing kind of the trial and error. They didn't post it or produce it or whatever, edit it, but they're out there. And maybe Sean McVay is like, I could have been doing that. But the ranking, they are last. I'm already blanking. Also, too, the third would be the Joe Buck and Aikman. I'm tired of them. The reason, and I already forgot what the other team was, but I'll go number one. Your brother will hate it, and that's why I'm gonna go with them. But they're also still kind of fresh. Tony Romo, Jim Nantz. I think Tony Romo, was up and then went down, but he's going back up again. He feels a fire. He wants to get that contract just like Troy Aikman. So give me Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. I just love the energy from Tony Romo. And yeah, take that, Dan and Daygo.
I can't wait for him to listen to that. I'll go number one. I want to listen to Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. I'm excited for that one because I want to see what their chemistry is like. No. I like Mike. I'm gonna go Jim Nantz and Tony Romo at number two.
Okay.
I still feel like Tony Romo is one of the best in the game. I'm gonna go last is gonna be the Fox guys. Even though Greg Olson interests me, I can't. I'm not a big. I don't know. I feel like it's
gonna be like Kevin Burkhardt for like baseball and stuff though.
Exactly. If it was just Mike Tirico and somebody else, I might rank them a lot higher. I'm not a big Chris Collinsworth fan, so I'm gonna put them second to last. And then what was the last one? Oh, ESPN. Yeah, I'm with you. Troy Aikman and Joe Buck have been on there for way too long, and I would have liked something new as well. I actually didn't mind the dynamic of Dan. It happened over a couple of days ago. Dan Orlovsky, Louis Riddick, and I can't remember the guy in the middle. But I actually don't mind that dynamic. I know they're going to do a couple of games during the season, but I sometimes mute the TV and I'd rather listen to the commentary of my good brother next to me who really lays into.
I was gonna say that you might be the broadcast team insider on Compas on the beat because I can't memorize all these names and teams, and you did a good job there until you just bashed them for meeting them. So never mind.
I didn't bash them. I listened to someone like Romo. I really listen to because I want to see what he sees on in the game. I don't really his predictions like when he goes, oh, it's going to be a run to the left, and it ends up being a run to the right. Like I'm kind of like, no. I understand why that happens. I mean, that's how the game goes. Maybe his lingo is different, but I really do think that you learn something from Romo. Chris Collinsworth, here's a guy like, get out of here. I don't want to listen to that crap anymore. I'm done with it. And now his son's that's who it was. It's Jason Garrett and Jack Collinsworth. So that's going to be the Notre Dame, the Notre Dame guy. So now you get two Collinsworths on NBC.
There we go. All
right. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see that. But moving on, speaking about Tom Brady taking that new job with Fox, Tom Brady disappeared for a little bit, Gilbert. He was gone for 2 weeks. He asked for 2 weeks off. There were some reports that he was going to be on The Masked Singer. By the way, could you be on The Masked Singer? How do you feel like you would do?
I'm not even sure I know what the show is. I think you have a mask.
So you're wearing a mask, and you're dancing and you're singing, and they have to guess who the singer is behind the mask.
I'll definitely be the fraud. It won't be my voice, so I'll be that person.
So obviously, Tom, they were saying that he was on the Masked Singer. He comes out and he says, "No, I wasn't on it." So according to numerous reports, he was in the Bahamas. He had to take a trip with Giselle he had to take care of family issues. Don't know what those family issues are, but supposedly they went to the Bahamas. Him and Giselle had some alone time, and obviously I don't know if the kids went or not, but are you okay with that? Or like, especially with the season coming up, do you think that that's okay, or what do you think?
Give me the ticker, Victor. I don't need that much time on this. If it was anybody else, I would have a problem. Get your butt at training camp and be with your team. Don't worry about your girlfriend stuff, Michael Davis. Figure that out on your own time. But Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowl titles. You can do whatever the hell you want. Go take a vacation. 2 days out of the week of the regular season. I don't care. It's Tom Brady. I'm done with this non-story.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's interesting that it happened with a new head coach and with all this, but I mean, it's Tom Brady. We all know what he's going to bring. We all know that the Bucs are going to be, even though with all these injuries, they're going to be contenders and everything. So I'm with you. I don't think this is a story at all. But 15 seconds left, Gilbert, and now I bow out.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Then let's get on to the next one.
I left time on the clock.
There we go.
Gilbert, crazy story over the weekend. Dana White was on, I think, ESPN, I believe, kind of doing a preview of UFC 278, and the Gronks were on there, and they were just like, it was a hashtag Ask the Gronks. Well, Dana White revealed that he was pushing for Brady and for Gronk to join the Raiders back in 2020 when obviously the Chargers were trying to court them, the Bucs were courting them. We heard news that the Tennessee Titans were courting him, and now it comes out that the Raiders, that he was pushing for them to move to Vegas. So Gilbert, I have to ask you, are you sticking with that mother effort? Is that Derek Carr he was talking about?
That was the first thing I heard. I know Dana White, saying it on the broadcast was funny. But I was like, oh, Derek Carr's that mother effort. So it sounds he fits the bill. He's not the greatest quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but
he hadn't won a playoff game, or he hadn't been in the playoffs there.
I think Tom Brady has a right to call him that. You're gonna stick with that mother effort. That would have been interesting though, Fernando. And I'm glad that Gronk kind of egged on Dana White. I bet you Tom Brady's like at home, like, what the hell, man? Like, why
he was in the Bahamas.
He's in the Bahamas. Like, what are you doing here? Like, first I got the Miami Dolphins story leaking. I got the Raiders story leaking. But Dana White was like, hey, Gronk, you sure? He gave him the look. So I think fair game for Dana White to do that.
So
Victor says it's Fitzpatrick. I don't know. I might have to change my mind. It might be Derek Carr.
So now we find out that maybe the Chargers weren't that high on the totem pole, and it was the Dolphins, and it's the Raiders, and it's like all these other teams that were trying to get him.
Right.
It's just interesting to see now. All of a sudden, all these teams have come out, and obviously Stephen Ross has been suspended for the owner of the Miami Dolphins for some of the roles that he played. But man, this story was crazy. As soon as I saw it, I was like, wow, okay. So Dana White's over here trying to negotiate some kind of deal. So yeah, no, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was just another bombshell in the Tom Brady story. But yeah, I'm with you. He was probably in the Bahamas like, dude, Dana, why? Like, why are you doing this to me? I'm trying to relax and everything. And
Matt Singer, wife trouble, and then a Dana White story. What the hell?
It's just been a weird offseason. And then the retirement during the offseason. And it's just been a weird offseason for the Bradys, in my opinion. But Gilbert, real quick, last story for you is your boy Nick Saban has just signed a new extension with in college football, and it is an 8-year contract worth $94 million. Or my bad, let me say that again, $94 million. What do you make of it? And I look at this, and I think Nick Saban's already in his, I think he's 70.
Is he that old? I don't know if he's that old.
Yeah, he's 70 years old on October 31st. He was born on Halloween.
I guess when you have that much money, you could make sure you don't look 70.
He would be okay. He's going to be 71. He'd be 79 when this contract ends. That means he's going to be making an annual salary of $10.7 million this season and it increases to 12.7 in 2029 when he'll be 78 years old. Gilbert, thoughts?
Man, now that you told me he's that old, I'm like, one, yeah, obviously take the money, don't go to the NFL. I'm like, but now I'm like, why are you still coaching, man? You got a bunch of money, go retire. But that just shows you this guy really
Spend time
needs
with your
football.
grandkids.
Yeah, do something, but he's gonna be there until he's 79. Okay, whatever. I'll be surprised if he lives out the contract. That's an old age. Lives out the contract. Oh my god, no pun intended.
Holy crap!
Plays out or coaches out the contract. But yeah, congrats to Nick Saban. He doesn't need the money. We know he's the best college football. Let's move on.
Last thing I want to say is I want that show brought back that NFL Network did for a couple of years. It was the Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. I'd love to maybe like once every offseason them just go over stuff that happened during the season. I just feel like those two football minds, to hear them speak when they're together, I think it's a lot of fun. Maybe we should bring them on and the Compas, like we do a Compas podcast with both of them. That'd be a lot of fun. Listening to Bill Belichick, we're going to go out there and we're going to beat some.
All right.
All right. Speaking of that, let's get to our guest. Gilbert, present our guest.
Yes, Jonathan Alexander of the Houston Chronicle. He used to cover the Panthers for the Charlotte Observer. He's the one that broke the Cam Newton news going to Carolina last year. Now he's covering the Texans and the NFL for the Houston Chronicle. So we'll catch up with Jonathan, and he'll give us the preview of the AFC South. This is the last episode of the previews. I'm tired of previews. I want to get to games. We already done, the West, the East, the North. Now let's finish with the South, and let's get to it with Jonathan Alexander.
Now it's time to introduce our special guest. He's one of the top beat reporters in the game, and he broke the news of Cam Newton returning to Carolina last year. But now this Charlotte native is in Houston. I'm, of course, talking about Jonathan Alexander, Texans and NFL reporter for the Houston Chronicle. Jonathan, welcome. How's Houston, and how's the new job treating you? And are you gonna do a quick Superman Cam Newton style, or
I will not do a Superman, but no, Houston's been good so far. I've enjoyed it, and the food is great. I don't know if y'all been down here before, but the food's great in Houston. The weather is just a little bit muggy, so I'm still getting used to that.
And Jonathan, you already been traveling on the new beat. You got to go to LA. I met you in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium. I just want your thoughts real quick on SoFi Stadium, because I like to ask people about the new stadium the first time they see it.
Yeah, so like that was my second time, but
okay.
SoFi, yeah, I went in 2020. Panthers played the Chargers, but SoFi is definitely number one out of all the stadiums that I've been to, and I haven't been to all, but I've been to a lot of the newer ones like Minnesota, and I haven't been to Las Vegas, but definitely SoFi is my favorite. I love it.
So I guess the question would have been like, do you like it better with fans or without fans?
It was definitely weird without fans when I went. So, because in 2020 when I went, it was like 0 people. So to see it with fans was cool. I'd love to go to a regular season game. I'm sure it gets packed in the regular season.
Well, we had to stop ourselves from falling asleep when there was no fans.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it was weird. Like y'all were covering in 2020, right?
Yeah.
What wasn't it just so weird? Just it to be like nearly silent, or you'd hear the fake crowd noise. That was just a weird year.
No, and the Chargers had their announcer, so like he'd be like, "Charger fans, get up! It's third down." And you're like looking around. You're like,
"Oh man!"
So like it was even crazier that they had their announcer there, and I'm sure he got a lot of great practice. But it was just funny to hear him like say that, like, "Get up! It's time to get hyped," and you're like, "There's no one here."
No, it was a weird year all around.
Maybe the third time, Jonathan, you'll get a real game. You got a COVID game, a preseason game, and maybe the third one at SoFi, you get a real one. But Jonathan, we have you on to talk about the AFC South, to help us preview the teams. We'll go through all 4 of them, and we'll leave the Texans for last. No pun intended on the Texans finish there. But let's start with the champions of last year, the Tennessee Titans, and they're kind of an interesting team on offense because they traded AJ Brown. Will Derrick Henry still have the same kind of workload, or is he on the decline? Because you know how running backs are. And what's going on with the quarterback situation? Ryan Tannehill and then Malik Willis balling in the preseason behind them. What do you kind of think about this offense? Should it be a little up and down, or should it be still pretty consistent as it had been the last couple of years?
Yeah, I worry when you lose, your best wide receiver. But yeah, I think they're still going to be good. I think Derrick Henry is a beast, and he can't be brought down. I don't expect him, if he takes a hit, I don't expect him to have a big drop off. I think he's still going to be that beast, maybe even the leading rusher this year. I think they're going to have to rely on the running game. I think Malik Willis could potentially be good in the future, but he is going up against the second and third string players in the preseason. So that may be contributing to why he looked good. I think Ryan Tannehill is going to win this job and continue to be the starter throughout the season. Of course, Ryan Tannehill is not going to give you anything special, but I think if he takes care of the football, then the Titans are going to be a consistent playoff type of team. They might not be competing in the AFC Championship, but I think they'll still be a solid team.
What do you think about their defense? Is it something that they're kind of like not a lot of big stars, but they do well up top in the front seven? They got the bunch of sacks on Joe Burrow last year in the playoff game, but that still didn't help them out in the game. But the defense, you think it'll be kind of the same as they did last year?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like really key for them. And I think that's why they've been able to be successful is by having a good defense and utilizing that running game. And I think it'll continue. I haven't seen too much of a drop off in, just looking at what they have on paper. But I think the Titans are going to stay consistent. I think they're likely going to. I think the Colts might overtake them this year, but I think they're still going to be in the mix with the winner of the AFC South.
Jonathan, before we jump over to the Colts, who would win in a wrestling match, Dan Campbell or Mike Vrabel? Who you got?
I'm definitely taking Mike. I'm not gonna say I'm definitely taking Mike Vrabel, but I'm taking Mike Vrabel. He just seems like he's got it, and he aggressive dude.
He really does. Speaking about the Colts, last year they had Carson Wentz. Carson just has completely dropped off from that ACL injury that he had the year that the Eagles went and won their one Super Bowl. They brought in Matt Ryan now, and it seems like the offense is flowing. They got Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly. They really have a lot of pieces on offense and defense. Does the addition of Matt Ryan, do you feel like that propels the Colts to the top of the division?
I do, because then you got Jonathan Taylor, who's just a beast, who's going to probably have another good year if he stays healthy. I mean, I think Matt Ryan. I watched Matt Ryan play, 2 years in the NFC South, and I think, despite not having the roster that he had, he was really the piece that was holding the Falcons together. He didn't have any help of whether that was offensive line or a lot of his weapons were gone last year, and he still, played well. And I think, Matt Ryan really is the key for the Colts. I think Carson Wentz, I think he's shown us what he is, and he was the reason why the Colts ultimately couldn't get over the hump. And now you add Matt Ryan, a veteran who's smart, who can throw a deep ball, who's accurate. I think he does struggle under pressure sometimes, but I think he's a really good quarterback, and I think he's ultimately going to take the Colts over the top.
10 years ago, it was all about Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, and they had some pieces on defense. It feels now like their defense has a lot of big pieces, and you add, obviously you have Shaquille Leonard, who used to go by Darius. Then you add Yannick Ngakoue. You add Stephon Gilmore to an already really good defense. How do you think their defense is going to look under Gus Bradley this upcoming season?
Yeah, I love Leonard. He's one of my favorite players to watch. And I covered Stephon Gilmore last year when he was with the Panthers. And you talk to anybody about Stephon Gilmore, he's a guy who knows his stuff. He studies the game. He's highly intelligent. And he might not be the most athletic guy, but he'll beat you to his spot because he's watched so much film on you. He knows what you're going to do. He made a few plays last year where he beat the receivers to their spots because he had saw those routes. I do worry though. He is of that age where, cornerbacks really do take a dip, but maybe he can make up for it. I based off what I've read, I've seen that he's been balling out in camp though. So you add him, another piece like that, somebody smart as him, and you combine him with Leonard and some other pieces, their defense should be solid.
And Jonathan, moving over to the Jaguars, and I guess maybe a two-part question. What was going through your mind seeing all the news coming out of Jacksonville with the Urban Meyer mess, and how can this team rebound with Doug Peterson and make Trevor Lawrence reach his potential, because it was kind of a shaky rookie year with Urban, but he still has the talent and the skill. So, what do you see from the Jaguars? Moving away from Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wasn't surprised because I knew Urban Meyer was a mess. He just had a history of bad things. Ohio State. I was covering college when he was at Ohio State, and the thing was going on with his assistant coach, and it's just always one thing after another with Urban Meyer. And I didn't know it was to that extent, but I mean, it still doesn't surprise me. He has talent. I covered Trevor Lawrence. I covered Carolina, but Trevor Lawrence always played Carolina every year, and Travis Etienne. I know they're good players. Trevor Lawrence, I remember seeing him in college as a sophomore and thinking like that guy's next level. So I expect him with the right atmosphere to take a step forward, and now he has a weapon who he's familiar with. I think the Jaguars are going to take a leap. I think they still have some talent that they need to continue to improve on. But they have some really good young pieces that I think in the future they'll be definitely, if they can continue to build with Doug Peterson, who I love as a coach, who I thought they fired him kind of early in Philly, and maybe they had to move on. But I think he's a really talented coach, and I do think he'll help turn around that team.
Yeah, the story that got me was when he kicked his kicker, and he's like, "You see that? That's how you make a kick." And you're like, "Dude, come on!" Like,
Yeah.
are you like it was just crazy to see all the stuff that was coming out of there.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So obviously, Jonathan, can you help us make sense of what's going on right now in Houston? I mean, they finally parted ways with Deshaun Watson. He's now in Cleveland. They fired David Culley. They get Lovie Smith as their head coach, and obviously, all I've ever heard about Lovie is great things. I've never heard one bad thing said about him. So can you make sense of kind of what direction Houston is heading in this season with some of the moves that they've made?
Yeah, everybody you talk to love Lovey. All the players. I think Houston is a few years away though. I mean, they got a lot of young pieces. Davis Mills is his second year. The thing about Houston is I think they lack a lot of the weapons to compete with a lot of these teams. I covered the Panthers. I've seen them. I've seen other teams they've played against. And Houston just doesn't have a lot of playmakers. They have Brandon Cooks, and I do like Dameon Pierce and what he could potentially do. But outside of that, teams are going to know who the Texans will go to. I think in defense, they'll probably be a little bit better on defense, but they were ranked 28th in the league. They were among the bottom teams, maybe even lower, but they were among the bottom teams in defense. So, I think the Texans, a lot of young pieces like Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, like those guys, but it's going to take some time, and I don't think the Texans are there just yet.
Yeah, I know. When Gilbert and I were covering the Chargers, we heard great things about Pep Hamilton from Justin Herbert and other guys. So Davis Mills looks like he could be a player in the league. But do you feel like that Brandon Cooks will make it through the season with the Texans? It feels like every year they kind of dangle him and for free or for trade. Do you feel like he'll end up staying with the Texans the whole season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know he was, upset about the Mark Ingram trade last year. They're in a rebuild mode. It wouldn't surprise me if they, look for teams who were looking for a wide receiver, and if they thought they could get good value. I think Brandon Cooks is a really good player, but he's their best player. And I think at this point, before the season even starts, they can't afford to part ways with him without knowing, how well they'll do. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Definitely. Just given the history there, just given where they're at right now as a franchise.
There was a lot made during the offseason about Brandon Staley, Chargers head coach, had gone with Derek Stingley, and he had ran him through all these plays, and he started really making some noise, and he jumped up. I'm not saying because of Brandon Staley or anything, but he jumped up and was a 3rd overall pick. He's a guy that I'm sure Gilbert is too. I'm excited to watch him and watch him develop in these next few years because he looks like a baller. But can you, besides him, do the Texans have anything else on defense, anything to be excited about, or any players that you could say, oh yeah, that guy's going to be a playmaker for them?
You said on defense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Grenard is a really good player. He had 8 sacks in I can't remember how many games he played last year, but he's a guy who can get after the quarterback in a hurry. I think if he stays healthy, he can have a big year. I like what they have at linebackers with Kruger Hill with Kruger Hill and Christian Kirksey. But I think and then Derek Stingley, like you mentioned, I look at him in practice and he's battling with Brandon Cooks. Nobody can stop Brandon Cooks, but if there's somebody who has had any type of success, it would have been Derek Stingley. You could just see the instincts he has. He's jumped in front of Davis Mills passes, anticipated them, not falling for the fakes. He definitely has potential there. And I could see him easily getting a few interceptions this year if he remains healthy and if they play him full go. But Derek Stingley, Jonathan Grenard, Christian Kirksey are guys who really impressed me on this defense.
Jonathan, thank you for the insight on the 4 AFC South teams. But before we let you go, we got to get your point of view of breaking one of the biggest news last year on Cam Newton. I won't make you do the Superman thing that Fernando wants you to do. But as we know as reporters, it's stressful to break news and then kind of watch the reaction. What was that roller coaster feeling when you broke that news of Cam Newton returning to the Panthers, or at least talking to the Panthers?
Oh yeah. That was wild. So like I just remember, I had known about it the previous night, and I was just waiting to get like some confirmation from a few sources. And but that whole night I was like, like somebody's gonna beat me. I already know Ian or Adam is gonna have this. And so I
damn
woke
you
up,
Ian and damn you Adam.
So I woke up at 3 a.m. and went to sleep, woke up at 5 a.m, went to 4 a.m, went to sleep, 5 a.m, went to sleep, woke up at 6 a.m, stayed up for good, checking my phone just to make sure nobody beat me, texting sources to see if they will finally confirm, and then they finally did. And then I pre-wrote the story already, and we sent the story off, and I just put down my phone for a few minutes, and then you look at your phone 30 minutes later and it's just like going crazy. So it was something I'll never forget. It was a cool moment for me, definitely a highlight for me. So but it was definitely wild, the reaction.
What did you think about his season?
Yeah, I think it wasn't a great one. I mean, it was definitely disappointing. A lot of Panthers fans love Cam Newton and revere him, and just to kind of see him not have the same arm strength on his throws, I'm sure it was definitely disappointing. And, it took him a while to, he wasn't able to grasp the offense in such a short period of time. There's a lot of pressure put on him, and that's unfortunate. Yeah. But, it's clear that he just can't throw with that same strength that he once was able to throw with.
I completely agree. Jonathan, thank you so much for jumping on with us. Jonathan, let the great folks know where they can find your stuff. Charger fans, Chargers Texans rematch of that abysmal game last year on October 2nd. It will be in Houston. Unfortunately for Jonathan, he won't be able to come to SoFi. I got a regular game. But Jonathan, please let the great folks know where they can find your awesome work.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at JONM Alexander. So that's John M. Alexander on Twitter. And you can also find me on HoustonChronicle.com/sports. And that's where you'll see most of my writing.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. We look forward to seeing all your great stuff. And who knows, maybe JJ Watt returns to the Texans and you'll break that. So definitely thank you so much for jumping on with us, and we appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Another great interview, great insight from your new compa, Jonathan Alexander. Hey, shout out to you, pal, for making the time. Really appreciate it. Now let's move a little bit more now into the other conference. The Compas will break down the NFC South. Is this Tom Brady's division still? Well, just like Woody said in Toy Story, we're going to find out together. Compas on the beat. The Compas will break them down next. And by the way, don't forget, if you want this here, your favorite program to promote your products or anything you wish, hey, don't you worry. Come on in here. Our email is very simple. compasonthebeat@gmail.com. Don't fret. You already know you got the #1 promo reader right here. You already know the product here is all A1. All we do is win, baby. Just win. And by the way, before we move on to the NFC South, don't you forget to go check out that interview with Andy Ruiz on Combat Compas. It was another great stuff. Great insight to see who he is outside of the ring and some of his thoughts and other things. Now, forget the delay. Let's get to the Compas breakdown of the NFC South. Let's go. Great stuff, Gilbert, from Jonathan, really breaking down what he expects from, and he's only been on the job for a little bit. Man, he knew every single team. You could tell he's really done his homework on not only the team that he's covering, because obviously we do that, but he really knows the division really well, and I'm excited to see what is going to happen with that whole division, especially with the maturation of Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Jonathan provided some good insight just to being on the beat for like what a couple of weeks. He kind of left when I left, Chargers to Rams, so he's only been on the beat for a month. But you probably could have asked Jonathan to stay on for the NFC South preview because he just covered the Panthers. But we'll take care of ourselves here, Fernando.
Yeah, no, exactly. So let's start off with the divisional winners, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last year, their season ended abruptly, I guess, in a sense. They were losing to the Rams, and they ended up coming back, and they were a Cooper Kupp failed assignment away from maybe going back to the NFC Championship. They obviously lost to the eventual Super Bowl winners. We just talked about Tom Brady taking 2 weeks off. Tom Brady unretired, then retired. Bruce Arians steps down. Todd Bowles is now the head coach. They brought in guys like Julio Jones, Russell Gage. Chris Godwin is coming back healthy. Mike Evans is still a focal point. The one thing, Gilbert, is their offensive line is really banged up. They've had numerous injuries on that offensive line in between the tackles. Both, I think they have two guards that are now out, and obviously their center Ryan Jensen is out. But Gilbert, are the Buccaneers set for another Super Bowl run?
Yeah, that's my only concern, just to go off of that real quick, Fernando, because this team is really loaded, but then the offensive line is the biggest concern. Like, they lost their top guys, some top guys in the interior of the offensive line from free agency, and then the guys that stuck around now have injuries, or the guys that are supposed to step up are out for the year. So that interior is going to hurt them. They have Tristan Wirfs playing well, but that's going to be an issue. But overall, when you look outside of that, Fernando, they are set to make a run. Maybe this whole awkwardness of Tom Brady coming in and out might affect them. I don't think so. But when you add a Russell Gage with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, like, people are kind of just doing some fantasy football talk or knowledge. People keep saying Mike Evans. What was that?
I said that's next week.
Yeah, but just people are saying Mike Evans is going to go off. He's going to be there by himself. I'm like, you just forgot Chris Godwin. You forgot Russell Gage. Like, Russell Gage is a talented wide receiver. So Tom Brady has a lot of weapons. Leonard Fournette is still back there. The defense is loaded. I'm sure I'm not going to ask about the defense, but that unit is still stacked. So I definitely see them making a run. I'm just concerned about the offensive line not holding up.
You're going to call me a nerd, and I do deserve it. In 2020, when the Chargers played the Falcons, was Russell Gage the one that threw the 50-yard touchdown pass?
2000. What year was it? 2020?
2020 during the
COVID year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was him. Yeah, you're right.
He threw it to the dude that's suspended for the gambling, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a sweet
couple years ago. I'm already blanking, so a good memory for you there. And I was at that game. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, I just thought it was an incredible throw.
Yeah.
It was just like right in the breadbasket. But I think that interior offensive line. I know Brady hates pressure up the middle. I mean, obviously every quarterback does, but I know Brady really wants his guards and his center to be top notch. I'm interested to see if if the Buccaneers make a trade or not, just to kind of bring in somebody that can maybe help them on the offensive line. But I think they are set for a Super Bowl run. You have the Rams and you have the Bucks, and in my opinion, you kind of have a little bit of separation between the next teams, like the Packers, even the New Orleans Saints. Well, we'll get to that, but I think there's a little bit of separation between the Buccaneers and the Rams and everybody else. So I do feel like they may make a little bit of a run and maybe get guys healthy towards the end of the season. But I'm interested to see kind of how all this fits together, especially with Bruce Arians working upstairs, Todd Bowles, and now the head coach. But Gilbert, this defense, obviously, when they made that Super Bowl run, they were one of the best defenses in the NFL. Guys were making plays left and right. Injuries obviously were a reason last year of why they couldn't make that run. They had a lot of injuries, cornerbacks to safeties to everybody. They obviously shook it up by drafting Zion McCollum. They also signed Logan Ryan, who obviously Brady knows from the Patriots days. They got Keanu Neal. They have some really good depth on this defense. Levante David, Devin White at linebacker. Gilbert, do you feel like this defense, if healthy, can regain that level that they were at a couple of years ago?
Yeah, dude, their front seven is loaded, man. I was just looking at the names right now. Vita Vea, they got Akeem Nicks, they added Shaquille, is it Barrett? I'm already blanking.
Yeah.
Shaquille Barrett, Levante David, you mentioned all these guys, Devin White. And then their cornerbacks are pretty good, like Carlton Davis, man, and Anton Winfield Jr. also doing well as a safety. So they are pretty, like, they're not maybe the biggest names, like they don't have the Aaron Donalds and Jalen Ramseys, but I just named a bunch of guys from all phases of the defense that are very talented. So they'll be up there again.
And you did a really good job of naming those guys, Gilbert. You know what's crazy, Gilbert? Thinking about it right now, we're about to start the season in 2 weeks. JPP is not on a team, and neither is Ndamukong Suh. And I mean, I've heard the Minnesota Vikings, the Raiders, and some other teams flirt with Ndamukong Suh. I haven't heard much on JPP, but man, those guys did not, and they were part of that Super Bowl winning defense. To not have those guys on a team right now is pretty crazy. I wonder if maybe they go back for cheaper. I actually, a couple of weeks ago, had advocated that the Chargers should sign JPP. I thought it'd be a really good move to have just another veteran pass rusher that can help ease up the load on Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. But I really do feel like this defense is going to be very good. I feel like they're going to be healthy going into this season, and that's what they need. Health is going to be key for this Bucs team that's already suffered a couple of serious injuries so far in training camp. Gilbert, obviously, we touched on the Miami thing. Sean Payton was supposed to take over as a head coach. Tom Brady was supposed to be part owner, part quarterback, kind of Jackie Moon. I don't know if you've watched that movie, Gilbert.
Yes, I have.
Okay, there you go. Owner, coach, player. So he would have done it all. And your promoter and your pregame announcer, Jackie Moon. How's that?
Yeah, Fernando, I know you get into character really heavy. I can see where your brother gets it from.
Obviously, the New Orleans Saints have lost Sean Payton. He's taking the year off. And do you feel like he'll be a reason why the team takes a step back?
I don't think so, but I'll put it this way. It's a little weird that Dennis Allen was pretty much kept to copy the same thing Sean Payton does. Like, they don't want anything to change. Like, hey, Dennis Allen, do what this guy did. And that's just asking for trouble there to just copy somebody else. So it's gonna be something that could go sideways real quick. Or maybe, Dennis Allen has learned from Sean Payton and he's gonna do the same thing. So I think it will affect them in some way, because it's just hard to copy somebody else's kind of style. Like I think of like Joe Lombardi going to Detroit.
Positive.
Yeah, like Lombardi was trying to copy the same thing with Sean Payton going to Detroit. He couldn't do it. He goes to the Chargers. He tries to change it up. It was better. So be a little different. Maybe we're just we don't have to get into it. Dennis Allen might do his own thing, and we'll see how it goes with him. But it will be somewhat of an impact.
I think they're going to be better this year, Gilbert. I think they're really stacked on defense. They're getting a healthy Michael Thomas back. According to all the reports that I've seen, Michael Thomas has looked good during practice. So I'm very interested to see what they're going to do. The one thing that I've laughed at, Gilbert, remember Trevor Penning? Have you seen those videos of him smacking guys during practice and everything? So that's been pretty interesting to see that kind of stuff. But I think Jameis Winston with those weapons, I think they're going to be okay. I think they might be a playoff team coming up. But Gilbert,
do you trust Jameis Winston? I don't even know if he's one of the top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL.
I would have trusted him more if Sean Payton was the head coach, just because of he can simplify the offense. But some of the staff stayed there, so I think they're gonna know kind of what to do. I'm sure Sean Payton is gonna be around. It's not like that year that he got suspended for Bountygate. I'm sure he'll be around. They can ask him. He'll give them advice.
You know that because of the Kevin James movie. You watched it.
Oh, it was a terrible movie. So you expect me to believe that Sean Payton stayed at a Holiday Inn for all
that
these
wasn't
months?
Me setting you up or something.
Stop! Like, he did not stay at a Holiday Inn. You know, he got them.
We got
Marriott
2 other teams
points.
for that though.
You know, he got them Marriott points. Gilbert, will losing Marcus Williams make the Saints make the defense step back, or will adding Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May, two ballers at the safety spot, will that help them be better?
Yeah, these previews are good for me because I started refreshing my memory of other teams that I forgot about Tyrann Mathieu going there. And when you said Marcus Williams and you go Tyrann Mathieu, oh, okay, they're fine. So they'll be good there. Marshawn Lattimore is still a good cornerback, so that secondary should be nice. But I'm excited to see the Honey Badger in his hometown in New Orleans. So I think people already forgot about Marcus Williams, to be honest, Fernando.
Yeah, I know. He's with the Baltimore Ravens now, but I'm a huge Tyrann Mathieu fan. I've been it since he was at LSU. I remember when he got suspended, I was like, this is stupid. Like, he's still one of the best safeties. He's been one of the best safeties. I remember I told you during the Chargers preview, if he wanted to take that chair like Seth Rollins and hit Patrick Mahomes in the back, he should have gone to the Chargers, kind of taking a pay cut, and it would have been fun to see them together. Him and Derwin James, but obviously he ended up going back home. I think that defense, Gilbert, I'm telling you, that defense, if they already gave Tom Brady problems, they're going to give him even more problems this year, especially with the Honey Badger being there. But now let's move on to the Carolina Panthers, Gilbert. Let's talk about. It's been crazy because I think right now one of the hottest seats in the NFL is Matt Rule. I think he really is on the hot seat right now. I know he signed a big extension, but I think he is on the hot seat going into this season. He has now had quarterbacks Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, and now they traded for Baker Mayfield. McCaffrey's missed 26 games in the last 2 seasons. Gilbert, don't forget that name. You pick up Christian McCaffrey. You draft him in this year's fantasy draft. Don't forget to draft him because he's gonna just kill it for you, Gilbert. No. He's missed 26 games. They brought in former Giants head coach Ben McAdoo to call plays. Something's got to give, but Gilbert, do you feel like Baker Mayfield makes them a playoff contender? And look at you. You're already cringing at this. Does he make them a playoff contender?
I don't know. Part of me kind of wants Baker to do well because of the mess that happened with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, whatever. Like, just you'll be fine, man. Do your thing in Carolina. It's okay that people dumped you. But when you go, like, how awkward is that though to have Sam Darnold in your same quarterback room? They were the top 3 picks in the 2018 draft, and now like, oh hey guys, hey, we got tossed aside together. Let's do it together. And like, it's just awkward. And then you mentioned they tried it with Teddy. Dude, the rookie quarterback, Matt Corral, who I was rooting for, he already got hurt. I think he has a foot injury. So
he's a compa.
Yeah, he's Mexican. That's why I was rooting for him. But if Baker could figure it out, they have some weapons. If Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, DJ Moore is an underrated wide receiver. Robbie Anderson is out there. I was looking at their offensive line. I remember they drafted is it Icky and Conwell? And then they also have a guy named Michael Jordan at guard.
Yeah,
so
they
that was
do.
kind of interesting.
In Carolina.
So it's not the worst offense, but it'll be okay. I just Baker's too sporadic up and down to kind of really buy in.
I agree with you. I just think that he's gonna really need to calm down. And last year he didn't play bad. It was just that shoulder injury that really limited him. But I think Baker will keep it together. I don't think they make the playoffs. I think they'll be good, but I expect him to be good, like okay. I just don't expect him to make the playoffs. And I think Matt Rule, unless they make the playoffs, I don't see him coming back next year. Let's move over to Gilbert. And you're gonna laugh at me. One of my favorite offenses to watch this year is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. Really? I'm interested in Marcus Mariota kind of coming back, maybe hopefully putting himself back on the map. I'm with Justin Herbert. That's my favorite quarterback. I like watching Marcus Mariota. I hope he bounces back. And Gilbert, they got Kyle Pitts, tight end. That guy is a monster. I think that he's going to be very good. They obviously they drafted Drake London from USC. I think he's going to be exciting to watch as
Your
well.
boy.
Exactly. And then they have some pieces on defense with AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward is there, Grady Jarrett is there too. Obviously they'll probably end up being in the mix for the first overall pick. And they'll probably end up drafting one of the quarterbacks from one of the many quarterbacks coming out next year's draft. But even though they're in full playoff mode or in full rebuild mode, do you feel like they're going about it the right way? And are you excited to kind of see Atlanta's team this year?
When you ask me about the right way, rebuilding, if I look at the roster and there's some talent there, then they're doing it the right way. And I'm looking at the roster, there's some players, there's some dudes there. And yeah, maybe they didn't try as hard for a quarterback because maybe they're waiting for, the loaded 2023 draft class for quarterbacks. But they tried with Marcus Mariota. They're not trying to fully tank there. And I think Mariota will show something. And it'll be interesting to see him work with Arthur Smith, a very talented offensive play caller. And he has Kyle Pitts and he has Cordell Patterson. And no Calvin Ridley, though, for gambling, which for a year, which is terrible, by the way. Give him a couple games. But, they have the ability to make some noise. I think they'll be sneaky fun. Maybe they'll win 6 games. That's good for them. But everybody's thinking they might win 3 games. But they'll be okay. I think they're rebuilding the right way by getting some cornerstone pieces, grooming a Kyle Pitts, and then maybe get the quarterback of the future. Unless Mariota does something. I don't know.
I agree with you. I think having Casey Hayward come in and help that young secondary is going to help them a lot. Casey's always been a leader. Gilbert and I covered him for a couple of years when he was with the Chargers. So I just think the what?
Me too.
No, I said Gilbert and I covered him.
Oh, they said I did.
No. I'm not you. Oh man, my brother can attest to that. I see us as a we. Like everybody at training camp would see us, the Compas.
Okay. Sorry.
So I really do think that they're going to be all right. I think they're going about this the right way. The interesting part will be, like you said, if they play well, if they win 7 games, do they want to win 7 games, especially with the quarterbacks coming out in next year's draft? 1, 2, will they pull the trigger even if Marcus Mariota does well? Who knows? That'll be interesting. But yeah, I think Atlanta will be at the bottom of this division. But like you said, I think that will be fun to watch. Now let's head to our favorite segment, Una Más, Gilbert. Very interesting. Oh, my bad. Hold on. Before we do that, give me your division predictions real quick.
We're moving on too fast.
Sorry,
I want to go
apologize.
a little faster.
Let's start with the AFC South.
Yeah, this division is probably already predictable. Buccaneers, Saints, Panthers, Falcons. It's kind of.
You never paid attention in class, did you? You never listened to the teacher?
Don't tell me the Saints are going to beat the Buccaneers of the division.
I said AFC South. I said start with the
NFC South. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, you're the one that moved on to Una Más. There you go.
I know, that's my bad.
He's getting ready to say the Falcons are going to win the NFC South. Something's coming here.
No.
Okay.
Okay, you started with the NFC South. No, you started with the NFC South. Okay, I'll go. No, I'll go. Bucks, Saints. I'll go Atlanta and I'll go Carolina.
Wow. Okay. All right. Give it some excitement there. You almost went Saints. I could tell.
Let's do. I wanted to. I just because of that defense. That defense is crazy. Now let's go to the AFC South. Gilbert, who you got?
Yeah, AFC South. Oh
Matty
man,
Ice?
this one makes me.
Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence. I think Jaguars are going to be better than what people think.
No, tight ends by default. This division stinks. Sorry, Fernando. And I don't believe in Matt Ryan, and they don't have any wide receivers besides Michael Pittman. And
sir, somebody has to win this division.
Jonathan Taylor will be fine. Nah, I'm going tight ends just because they have Mike Vrabel. I like what he does as a coach. So tight ends, Colts, Texans, Jaguars. Davis Mills. No.
I'm gonna go Colts, Jaguars, Titans.
Wow.
Texans.
Okay.
I think that Jacksonville's going to take a big man. I like me some Dougie P. I like me some Doug Peterson. I think he's a good coach. So I'm going to go that way. So now I know. But I mean, the Titans. I think Ryan Tannehill's starting to come back to earth. He ain't gonna have those type of receivers that he's had the last few years. I think they're gonna start being brought back down to earth. But una más. Speaking of stuff that happens, I mean, in real life that we obviously didn't know about. The documentary came out of Manti Te'o, former Chargers linebacker, former Notre Dame standout. It was a documentary about how Manti developed feelings for a person that he had met online. That person ended up being who Manti thought it was. It came out right before the national championship. Everybody, people couldn't believe that he had started an online relationship with somebody and hadn't met them. I think they had a relationship for 3 years or 2 or 3 years before Manti found out that it was a hoax. It was one of those things where his grandmother had passed away, and on that same day, his girlfriend had passed away. Manti had an incredible senior season, ends up getting drafted by the Chargers in the second round. Gilbert, give me your thoughts on the documentary, because give me your thoughts on the documentary and what you thought about watching this 2-episode documentary, which I highly recommend to people to watch and really get the real story of Manti Te'o.
Yeah, I'm glad you said a real story, because at first I didn't want to watch it. I'm like, I was around for this massive news where you heard every single day, and I was tired of it. But I'm like, people are saying it's a good documentary, so I watched, and I'm glad I did, because you get every facet of the story, and it tells you that you should think deeper when you hear these kind of stories that people love to criticize or talk about drama or put in the tabloids. And you get Manti's story point of view, you get Lene's, you get the reports from Deadspin, you get some media that was around, you get the family, you get all points of view. And then after documentary, you hear it and you watch it, that's when you make your real opinion. Your opinion doesn't really matter, but that's when you're like, okay, I don't know why I was so critical of Manti. Manti's a good dude. That's a good person. He just wanted to be nice, and his only problem was to trusting people too much. And then seeing kind of the emotions of how he got built up to be a star, and then he got tore down. And then dealing with the anxiety he had to deal with the Chargers, like that stuff we kind of just forgot about. And then he kind of found his peace with the Saints, and then now it was just a whole roller coaster. And I love watching that documentary to see it. And the best part was, for me, was Manti, saying, hey, I'm still going to be who I am. I'm not going to change. I'm going to be the same caring person, but I'm going to do it in a better way. And I forgive Lene and all that kind of, moving on, forgive and forget was cool to see. But it was just crazy to see kind of how the story developed, the reactions, and those 2 Deadspin reporters. That was just an interesting thing. And having Dr. Phil involved. I'm getting spoilers for him. I love the documentary, but please watch it.
What I thought was interesting, Gilbert, is the fact that it was so sad that some reporters had come out and said, oh, well, Manti did this to increase his draft stock. Why the hell would somebody want to get catfished and to increase his draft stock when Manti was already literally a top 10 pick if this stuff doesn't come out? So why would he even want to do that? That was terrible to me. The other part is, Gilbert, when he says that there's times where he's walking down the street and fans come up and they'd be like, hey, can I get an autograph? And he'd be like, oh yeah. And then they start making fun of him. I remember, Gilbert, I mean, and I know you hate when I jump back to the San Diego days, but I remember when he got drafted at first, and I was kind of like, oh wow, it's going to be interesting to cover him. And my mom told me, when you go in there, remember to have an open mind. You don't know what this young man's been through. You don't know what really happened. The only people that really know what happened were him and it was Ronnie at the time. But obviously she was like, go in there with an open mind, see what he's like. And Gilbert, the Manti that you saw in the documentary is the Manti that we got as media when we were covering the Chargers. Manti was so humble. He was so nice. He would always, I'd walk by and be like, hey, Fernando, how are you doing? I'd be like, hey, Manti, everything good? He's like, yeah, man, just trying to get ready for Sunday or stuff like that. It was really interesting to really get to know him, because there'd be times where I would just stop at his locker and we would just start talking and just talking about football or about Notre Dame or about his experience. And for him to be so open at a time where you knew opposing players were probably making fun of him, other fans were making fun of him. I mean, I remember I went to a couple of away games and I saw the signs, I saw some of that stuff, and you're like, you feel for the guy. And he even said every game that I played with the San Diego Chargers for the first 3 years, I had anxiety. He's like, I never had that before. So literally, I mean, the situation, I'm not going to say the person, the situation really took away his instincts and his love for the game, I guess, in a sense. So that was just sad to see. But for Manti to be able to sit there and be like, hey, I forgive you. And I mean, Manti has a family now, beautiful family. It's so nice to see that he was able to do that. But for him to really forgive this person that literally kind of ruined his football career in a sense, that was pretty big of Manti. And that just tells you what kind of person he is. And I really thought that was just huge for Manti to do. And that just means that Manti is an even bigger person than a lot of people are. Because I'm sure a lot of people would say some other stuff or do some other stuff, but Manti forgave them, and now he's moving on with his life, and I really commend him for that.
Yeah, that's cool that he took time out of his day as a football player to talk to you at the locker room. A lot of football players don't do that, so that kind of shows you his character. And we'll just end with this for una más, Fernando. The thing that really caught my attention was like he said he already forgave Linnea a long time ago, but then he had to go see like a therapist or something or a specialist where he pretty much said the other way, have you forgiven yourself? And that's why he couldn't play football well, because he's like, he was just so devastated that a guy who does things well at a high level got caught that way, and it took him a while to kind of move on. So it's interesting how many layers there are to the story and how it affects so many different people. So I was just kind of blown away by the documentary.
And you could see it. It even started in the national championship game. He was missing tackles that he would never miss. So it was just incredible to see that kind of stuff. Real quick, fun fact: Manti Te'o actually taught. He was the second round pick. He actually taught first round pick in Alabama right tackle DJ Fluker how to swim. That was a big story the rookie year that he took him to the pool. DJ's like, I don't know how to swim. He's like, dude, you're 6'6". You don't have to swim. You could just walk. He's like, yeah, but I want to learn how to swim. So Manti actually taught DJ Fluker how to swim. So I always thought that was a fun fact, and I thought that was great. But Gilbert, another great episode. We're done with the previews. I know you were over it. Guys, go to Combat Compas. Check out our interview with Andy Ruiz. He is trying to make it back to the top, and he really wants to. He's really excited for this fight against Luis Ortiz. It's going to be a good one on September 4th. I'm excited for the fight. Gilbert's excited for the fight, and after talking to Andy, we're excited about his continuing his journey. Gilbert, what do we got next week? Do you want to plug what we're doing next week, or since preview episodes are over?
Not just yet, but we do have these these Rams Chargers preseason previews for this week. That's coming out Thursday. But then next week there's no preseason game, so we'll see what we do on the Rams and the Chargers, Fernando. But keep an eye out for stuff like that. And obviously we have more Combat Compas. I think we're gonna have some WWE next week, I think, Fernando. So again, follow the YouTube channels. Pay-per-view coming up. YouTube channels, Compas on the Beat, Combat Compas. There's two. Don't forget that. Please do both. It will really help us out, and also listen on the audio version. We still have Compas, Combat Compas with Compas on the Beat. Just see the name title there, and we also changed the title. I mean, the picture of the podcast, thanks to Victor, the producer on there. So yeah, the gloves. So nice art there. But overall, I'm excited, Fernando. I know we're still growing and learning, but plenty of content, and we appreciate the support. If you already subscribed to both and you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, that's awesome too. But tell a friend.
Tell a friend, be a friend. We're so excited about all the stuff coming up. We told you guys we got some surprises up our sleeve. Well, Gilbert, can you raise your hand? You have sleeves? He doesn't have sleeves either. All right, so we have some stuff up our shoulders, I guess. But we have some stuff up our sleeves. We have some exciting and fun times coming up on Compas on the Beat, Combat Compas, both of them. So definitely you guys want to stay tuned. But for now, Gilbert, ¿sabes qué? Vámonos.
Ya nos vamos, pues vámonos.